Hey up everyone, it's me, Stef, the alternate, your nerdy alternative, and welcome to the Royal Clubhouse Live. How y'all doing? How has your week been? My week has been great. I've just come back from holiday. I've just come back from Gran Canaria. So thank you to everyone that supported my channel and content this week whilst I was away. It was all pre-recorded. So thank you so much for your support and care. But yeah, in the meantime, here we are. We are back, Royal Clubhouse. So excited to introduce my very special guest. Yes, the one and only HG Tudor. Hey up, HG. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's Royal Clubhouse. How are you doing?
Pleasure to be here, Steph. I'm excellent. Well, thank you for your kind inquiry.
I'm so happy that you are very well at the moment. But yeah, guys, with that being said, if you're living under a rock, and please, you shouldn't really at this point, but if on the off chance you are, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to my friend HG over on his channel, HG Tudor, Knowing the Narcissist Ultra. Yeah, HG, if you could just quickly explain to those that don't know, that are living under a rock, what your channel is all about and what they're to expect when they subscribe.
Certainly, Steph. Thank you. My channel is all about narcissism and psychopathy, so I help people understand the way that lifetimes think, the way that narcissists function and operate, the dynamic that they have with their victims, the different types of narcissists that exist, why.
Okay, HG, if you could just stop there. Apologies, there's just a slight issue with your audio. If you just give me one moment. Can you chat now?
Yes, I can speak now. Is that clearer?
Yeah, that does clear up. Okay, let me just start that again for those that couldn't hear. Apologies for the technical snafu. But yes, here I am with HG Tudor. You should be able to hear him now. Let me just put in, should hear him in a moment. Okay, yeah. They're now hearing you through. Sorry about the delay there, HG. Apologies. So yes, I am here with HG Tudor, and yes, before we were rudely interrupted with that technical snafu, yes, please, HG, can you just explain to those living under a rock your channel and what it's all about and what they're to expect when they subscribe to you?
Certainly. Subscribing to me will provide you with a very detailed insight into the world of the narcissist and the psychopath. So I have an extensive repertoire of material that explains to you all the different types of narcissists, how they function, how they operate, the view of the psychopath, how we pick our victims, why we treat people the way that we do. There's analyses of various celebrities to tell you whether they are narcissists or something else, and if so, what type they are. There's analysis of politicians, pop stars, individuals who found fame with YouTube. There are interviews with me and interviews with other people. So there are over 8,000 videos that take you through all different aspects of narcissism and psychopathy. This is life-changing, life-saving, and life-affirming work, which has helped millions of people around the world. And if you want to understand about something about yourself or your involvement with somebody who's caused you potential difficulties who you might think is a narcissist, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's at work, whether it's in the family, you will do no better than to access this work, and you will find the information, insight, and freedom that you need.
There you go, guys. Straight from the horse's mouth itself. So, guys, if you haven't already and you're living under a rock, please subscribe to HG Tudor. His channel link is pinned right at the top of the live chat. It's also in the description bar below. Another little bit of housekeeping before we kick off Royal Clubhouse. First and foremost, I don't think a lot of you guys know, but I have launched Royal Clubhouse on Spotify as audio, so the full live stream on audio format only will also be uploaded onto Spotify. So if you have Spotify, go give Royal Clubhouse some love over there, and you can listen to it to your heart's content throughout the week. That should satiate your desires for Royal Clubhouse until the next one. Also, as well, this Sunday, another live stream you do not want to miss. I have an exclusive, guys, an actual source close to Meghan Markle's family has revealed quite a little bit of information regarding our Megsy and how she treats her staff. Apparently, she might be giving staff ultimatums. Yeah, you want to know more? Stay tuned for this Sunday's Daily Nerd live, 10 o'clock UK time, 5 o'clock Eastern. You do not want to miss that exclusive. With that being said, HG and I, we're going to kick off the first segment of the day, which is the Hazza and Megsy News of the Week. So we're going to do this in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Hey up everyone, it's me, Stef, the Alternerd, your nerdy alternative, and I am here live on Royal Clubhouse with HG Tudor. We are going through the Hazza and Megsy News of the Week segment, and yes, in this segment, is Meghan Markle's always destined to be exposed as a narcissistic demon boss from hell? Well, let's go through it because, oh my goodness, a lot has actually come through this week about Megsy and her treatment of her staff. Now, before we go through it, HG, have you followed any of this story that's unveiled over the week?
Absolutely, I have. Yes, it's entirely commensurate with the behaviour that you'd expect of a narcissist such as Meghan Markle.
Okay, well, for those that haven't followed it, I'm going to give you a little bit of a quick recap. So here we go. So we've got here, since the Hollywood Reporter came out with their expose initially, we have then the Daily Beast that came out with even more sources saying that former employees are calling Meghan Markle a demon boss and recall psycho moments. And so here, one courtier has said that when working for Megsy and Hazza, it was all part of their service at the palace, telling the Daily Beast there have been plenty of difficult royals over the years. And I do think that after the ill feeling of Megsy's bad moments were amplified and distorted and blown out of proportion. That said, there definitely were bad, very bad, even psycho moments. I witnessed people being chewed up in person and over the phone and made to feel like shiz. An incredibly fraught time. But, you know, the source pointed out that Jason Knopf also complained about her. We all know about that email where he said, you know, that she seems intent on having someone in her sights, bullying a certain staffer to undermine her confidence. Another person coming out saying, look, in the run-up to the wedding, I always thought she was a classic narcissist. Getting her staff to tell a magazine how amazing she is only confirms that in my mind. She's lovely when it's going her way, but a demon when the worm turns. A florist has turned around and vowed never to work with her again, despite having the prestige of her as a client. If you're working for her, you're often treated like a tradesman who could be treated like shiz. And here, you know, we've got HG Tudor tearing it up on Twitter, sounding off some psycho moments from Megsy. Here's one here. Here's another famous psycho moment there. He listed 5 in total from what I could find. So if you want to see all of them, make sure you subscribe to him on Twitter. But then, you know, soon after all of this, we've had Megsy's team come out with staffers saying, oh no, she's like the greatest boss ever. It's like manna sent from heaven. She's so amazing. I mean, HG Tudor, what do you make of all of this? Do you think she was always destined to be exposed like this as a narcissistic demon boss from hell?
Absolutely, Steph. I mean, first of all, she was exposed as a consequence of coming on my radar by virtue of me running the rule over what she is and telling the world this woman is a narcissist, which I did years ago. But even if you were to leave to one side my detailed analysis of what she is, she was always going to expose her behavior because the type of narcissist that she is, she simply is incapable of keeping it under wraps. What has to be remembered that with her, she is not that sophisticated. She is not some uber villain that is this Machiavellian character. Some people think that she's this calculating individual. She isn't. The litany of schoolgirl errors that she has engaged in bears testament to the fact that her responses are knee-jerk in nature. So what you have with somebody like her is, because she's a narcissist, she has an innate need for control. Her narcissism operates like a background app, and it pursues what's called the prime aims. So it seeks control, it seeks fuel, which is the emotional response of those around her, character traits and residual benefits. When she interacts with anybody else, one or more of those things is in play. So it means that when she's dealing with a member of staff, she has to control them. Now, sometimes she'll control them in a benign way by thanking them for something that they've done. But if they threaten her control, they become painted black. And when there's nobody else around to witness it, i.e., she isn't on a walkabout in Australia, or she isn't spending time out and about at some dog rescue charity, her narcissism causes her to exhibit her cold, ignited fury, where she glares at somebody, or her heated, ignited fury, which results in her tearing a strip off a grown man and reducing him to tears. So, because her narcissism can't keep that ignited fury under control, it was always going to come out. So it did when she was in the UK. It did when she went to Australia with the allegation about throwing the tea. That was heated, ignited fury. Somebody threatened her control, and therefore the instinctive response of her narcissism is to cause her to erupt, because that eruption is then there to drive her to try and get that control back by shouting at somebody so they are cowed and they back down, and thus give her the control that she subconsciously seeks. And because her facade management isn't that good to begin with, you would see some of these cracks in public, but also because facade management isn't relevant when it's behind closed doors, when it's a one-on-one, she's going to bully those members of staff, and then she'll bully another one, and they'll start talking to one another. And then there's a reputation, and then somebody speaks to the press, or somebody launches a complaint. And she was always going to be exposed because, as I always explain, with the type of narcissist that she is, and one similar to her, if you give the narcissist enough rope, they'll hang themselves. And as you're showing all of these instances where she's been caught in public exhibiting this ignited fury, she just can't keep it under control. Her facade management isn't good enough because she's overexposed. Most narcissists of her ilk will actually keep it quiet for longer because they aren't as exposed to the extent that she is. And because her narcissism wanted this, it wanted her to be internationally famous because it would enable her to access more fuel and more residual benefits. The downside of this is her narcissism got her into this position, but it isn't good enough to keep her there because it hasn't got an evolved facade. So we see the death stare given to Doria, the death stares that were given to Catherine, where those are the public breaches of her facade management. So take the public instances of her being caught out and the private instances that get leaked. It comes together as a heady brew that will always result in her exposure.
So ultimately, it's really, in a sense, her fault that she's being exposed as this narcissistic demon boss from hell. In a way, she couldn't help it because it's part of her like psychopathy, right?
Well, she's not a psychopath, but it's part of her narcissism. So she can't help it, but that's not to give her a pass. This is how she behaves. She doesn't see that she does anything wrong because she's blinded. So, for instance, when she basically has said, I don't shout at people, I'm just clear. That is a typical example of the way that the narcissist doesn't see that she's doing anything wrong. You could go and ask 9 people, or rather 10 people, and say to them, look at this behavior of Meghan Markle. What do you see? Oh, I see a woman shouting. I see a woman being nasty. And then you go to her and say, here's your behavior. What's that? Oh, I'm just being clear. I'm giving them direction. Do you not think you're being shouty and nasty? No, not at all. Because her narcissism won't allow her to absorb criticism. And if you said to her, well, I've just been and asked 10 people to examine your behavior, and they all say that you've been nasty and shouty. Well, they're idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. That person's got it in for me. That other person's only envious because I'm better than them. That person is a proven liar. And she'll tick off each person to basically dismiss what they have to say because she can never be wrong. So while she can't help but be this way because her narcissism drives her, one, it's not an excuse, it's just an explanation for the way that she behaves. She can't see that she's doing. She knows when she upsets someone. She knows when she shouts at somebody, but she might describe it as something else, or she'll see it as justified. Why did you shout at that person? There was no need to raise your voice. There was every need to raise my voice. That person is incompetent and they don't listen. Or Why did you shout at that person? Because he never does anything on time, because he's got it in for me, because he's a racist. Whoa, where does that come from? But that's the paranoia of the narcissist. There is always in her world a justification for her behavior, because she is always right. Everybody else is always wrong.
Is her penchant for trying to be the victim and play the victim part of her narcissism?
Yes, because imagine, if you will, a film, okay? And the film starts with Meghan Markle going up to a member of staff and saying to them, "You're useless, you're incompetent, you're a moron. Don't ever look at me ever again," okay? That individual then turns around and says, "Excuse me, who do you think you are talking to me like that?" And they stand up for themselves. She then drops to the floor crying, sobbing, because they stood up to her. Okay? So that's our film. She attacks the member of staff. The member of staff stands up for themselves. She reacts by falling to the ground, crying because they shouted at her or stood up to her. Anybody watching that film, and you would say, right, well, who's at fault there? They'll go, well, it's Meghan Markle. She went at the member of staff in an unpleasant and perhaps unjustified manner. They stood up for themselves and she didn't like it. What she sees is this. The first portion, her attacking them, is deleted. And the film starts with the member of staff standing up to her unnecessarily and being rude to her. Thus, she is the victim. And so her response of dropping to the floor and crying, which is a pity play, is justified because they've been mean to her first. The bit where she was mean is erased by her narcissism. So she always thinks she's the victim. So, for instance, the royal family never supported me, were nasty to me. Actually, they did support you. And also, are you not surprised they reacted the way that they did, given the way that you behaved first? I didn't behave like that. Denial. She'll rewrite history. She's always the victim. The British press had it in me from the start. No, they didn't. But again, that's playing the victim, because her narcissism always rewrites what's gone on, changes the narrative to make it so that she's the one that's been hard done to. She had to leave the UK. She was hounded out of the UK. No, she chose to go and took Harry with her. And the royal family were as accommodating as they could be, but she tried to change them, assert control over them. They resisted, which threatened her need for control. So she responded by withdrawing from them, which is one of the ways that a narcissist gets control over a person, by backing off. Because in her mind, she tells herself, well, I don't want anything to do with this racist institution, these awful colonialists. Because it's her decision, it gives her subconsciously a sense of control. And that victim mentality is part of always believing she's never at fault. It's other people that are nasty to her. That's why she keeps doing it, because she can't understand. Why are people always picking on me? I'm just a nice person. I try and help. I'm empathic. I'm authentic. I'm organically caring. Why are people so mean to me? And that's why she always keeps coming back with these clapbacks that she engages in, as you saw, as you highlighted, with the allegations of her bullying people that the Hollywood Reporter came out with. What did you get? Us Weekly. She waters the seeds. Members of staff falling over themselves to say that she's a saint. Why? Because she can't understand that anybody would ever say that she's a bully, because in her world, she's not. Her narcissism doesn't allow her to process it. So you have just called me a bully when I'm not. You're mean. I'm the victim. So I'm going to get all of these people now to stand up for me to demonstrate that you're wrong and I'm right, because you've once again picked on me.
Her inability to recognize the actual reality of the situation because of her narcissism, is that some kind of like survival technique on her part mentally?
Yes, it is. Her narcissism formed when she was a small child. It's her coping mechanism. So other people learn to cope by developing emotional empathy. Other people, and as part of that means sharing, being patient, being cooperative, taking into account the needs and requirements of other people. Everybody needs to have a degree of selfishness, but it's moderated by people's emotional empathy. She doesn't have that. What she has is a mechanism that puts her first, that causes her to believe that she is more important than anybody else. And that mechanism is hardwired into her to force her to nullify threats to control. She's hypersensitive to issues of where there's a threat to control. It causes her to pursue fuel, because the necessity of control and the receipt of fuel are parts of the things which help her survive and thrive. So her narcissism is like a life support system for her.
But, going around full circle here, as we've been discussing the main topic for this segment, was Meghan Markle always destined to be exposed as a narcissistic demon boss? Essentially, is it her fault that she's been exposed in this way? And ultimately, it seems like, yes, it is, but that she can't help it because of her narcissism. Her narcissism blinds her to the actual reality of the situation. So she continues to make the same mistakes over and over again in terms of how she treats people because she ultimately feels that there's nothing wrong with what she does, right?
That's right. So exposure would always occur because what happens is when the narcissist first comes along, many of these awful behaviors are kept under wraps because the narcissist gives you what's called a golden period, that raw sweetness and light, but that doesn't last. And because of altering facade management, or as I say, behaviors behind closed doors, what happens is, as time passes, you get more and more instances of this behavior. So if you take from when Meghan Markle came on the scene in 2016, and if you were to sit down and do an encyclopedic review of all of the behaviors, you would now have a mountain of evidence, a mountain of instances where she has shown her narcissism in full effect in terms of the lies, the revision of history, the bullying that has taken place, the absence of emotional empathy, the lack of boundary recognition, the way that she seeks fuel. You would just have so much evidence that has built up, which means that with someone particularly like her, who is internationally famous, who is spoken about and written about every single day, fact-checked by so many different people, that it was inevitable that the cat-handed nature of her mid-range narcissism would mean that she would be exposed. There are much more evolved narcissists that operate in the higher echelons who aren't exposed because they're far more effective at moving amongst people without being seen for what they are. She doesn't have that level of skill. So exposure was always going to occur for her.
Well, guys, on that bombshell, with that being said, towards the end of this first segment for Royal Clubhouse, if you appreciated what came out of HG's gob, and of course you did, guys, how could you not, then make sure on your way out you subscribe to him, HG Tudor, knowing the narcissist ultra. Send him some love his way. Also, as well, just for those that are watching either live or on the replay, make sure you tune in this Sunday, 10 o'clock UK time, 5 o'clock Eastern on Stef the Nerd channel because, OMG, I've got a major exclusive bombshell from literally a source close to the Meghan Markle family. What have they said about this whole demon boss Megsy situation? A lot. You're going to be surprised, so stay tuned for this Sunday. Also, as well, I have just launched Royal Clubhouse as an audio podcast on Spotify. These are the only two places you're going to find me, either here on this particular YouTube channel, Stef the Nerd, and also as well on Spotify, Royal Clubhouse Podcast by Stef the Nerd. If you've got a Spotify account, give it some love, follow me on there, listen to Royal Clubhouse through the week to satiate you until the next Royal Clubhouse episode. With that being said, everyone watching on the live, stay exactly where you are. We ain't done with you yet. But for those watching on the replay, thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate all your faces. And here are some videos that are going to come up now that you may want to clickety-click, clickety-click. Alrighty guys, so that was the first segment for our Clubhouse, Hazza and Megsy news of the week. A little bit of support just came through whilst we were going through that. General Scott, I salute you. Thank you so much for gifting 5 leaderships to some of you lucky lots out there. So everyone say A up to our newest leader, courtesy of General Scott. Also, as well, I see Admiral Tinkletits McGee in the chat saying, hey, everyone. Hey up, Admiral. Thank you so much for your continued support for the leadership. Really appreciate your face. Also, as well, Stephen Swartz, thank you so much for your continued support for the leadership, saying another month down. Hope you had a good holiday. Lots of hugs. I had a wonderful holiday. It was definitely welcomed. Now, there is one question that's actually just come up here. If you don't mind answering it, HG, and it's from Sean Roche, saying, HG Tudor, do you think Keir Starmer is a narcissist?
No.
Fair play.
Is the short answer.
Fair play. Sorry, were you going
Yeah.
to say something? Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that no, I don't believe that he is. I can understand why many people believe that he is because of the decisions that he has made, but you have to take into account what he's operating in. There are lots of narcissists that are drawn to politics, but having viewed his behavior over a number of years, he has narcissistic traits like many people, but I don't see him as a narcissist, no.
Fair play. I just saw that in the chat. I was just like, ooh, that'd be interesting to get your take on that, HG. But whatever political aisle you are on, absolutely fair play. You do you. But no, I subscribe to the hashtag to Tia Kia. Absolutely. So with that being said on that bombshell, let's go into the second segment for our Clubhouse. And this is the non-Hazard and Megxit news of the week. So yeah, in this segment, we cannot mention their names whatsoever. We can't mention Hazard, we can't mention Megxit. So yeah, let's see if we actually achieve it this week. So we're going to go in 3, 2, 1. Hey up everyone, it's me, Stef, the alternate, your nerdy alternative, and I am here live for Raw Clubhouse with my friend HG Tudor. Thank you so much for coming on this week. And we are on the they shall not be named news of the week. And in this segment, I'm asking, does Princess Catherine display a healthy narcissism that they who shall not be named fail to do? Now, let me just do a little bit of a disclaimer here. I personally believe that there are elements of narcissism in everyone, okay? Because when I look up narcissism, you know, it can be an interest or admiration in yourself or physical appearance that a lot of us do have to some level or another, a need for admiration that we do have at one level or another. And so, yeah, I do feel like everyone does have aspects of narcissism within them. Would you agree or disagree with that, HG?
I put it a different way. I don't like the phrase healthy narcissism because when I talk about narcissism, I'm talking about someone who is a narcissist, which means they've got narcissistic personality disorder, in order to make a clear distinction to help people understand. I explain it by reference to the narcissist has narcissism. They are governed by their narcissism. Their narcissism is good for them, not so good for other people that are affected by their narcissism. When we talk about it being present in everybody, I prefer to refer to narcissistic traits. So I've got narcissistic traits. You've got narcissistic traits. Everybody watching has got narcissistic traits. And what that means is that you'll have traits of pride, of vanity, of argumentativeness, of anger, of showcasing, of defiance, of resentment, and so on and so forth. However, if you're a narcissist, you only have narcissistic traits. You don't have any empathic ones. If you're not a narcissist, you have narcissistic traits and you have empathic traits. And this is where the sort of healthy application of those narcissistic traits comes in. So I'll give you a comparison. Let's take a narcissist. The narcissist has no emotional empathy, has no empathic traits that influence the wielding of her narcissistic traits. Let's take her narcissistic trait of pride. She's a good-looking woman that goes down the gym to stay trim, wears expensive clothing, which she looks fantastic in. She utilizes various potions and lotions, and she eats a fastidious diet. Why? Because she's driven by that narcissistic trait of pride in her appearance. However, she goes down the gym and misses her child's piano recital and her son's Christmas play. She spends more money than she should from the household budget on those expensive dresses, leading to arguments with her husband. She actually shoplifts some of those potions and lotions, and She insists that the family eat the fastidious diet like her, even though they don't need to. She therefore causes problems for other people because of her narcissistic trait of pride and her absence of emotional empathy. Now let's take a non-narcissist who similarly takes pride in her appearance. She goes down to the gym, but she doesn't miss her children's activities because she has emotional empathy. It keeps that narcissistic trait of pride in check, so it functions in a healthy way. She buys clothing, and if she wants to buy something expensive, she discusses it with her husband first because they have a shared bank account. So she shows emotional empathy for him by talking about the potential expensive purchase. She doesn't steal those potions and lotions. She goes and buys them. She doesn't insist that everybody else eats the same way as she does. She shows due consideration for them. So she equally has pride in her appearance like the narcissist, but she gets to that pride in a way which is enshrouded in her empathic traits. And accordingly, what that then means is that her narcissistic traits function in a healthy way. So that's the distinction. So when you made reference to Catherine, Princess of Wales, she has both empathic and narcissistic traits, but her empathic traits are stronger than her narcissistic ones. So she'll have an element of pride. She'll be proud of her children. She'll be proud of her appearance. But she doesn't do things which harm other people because, like the Force, the emotional empathy guides her activities, guides her behavior, so that she just doesn't think about stealing things. It's not in her repertoire. Or if she were to, she would think, well, actually, I shouldn't do that because that's not fair. So that's the distinction between a narcissist who has no emotional empathy and narcissistic traits, but no empathic ones, and other people whose narcissistic traits can function in a healthy way because of the presence of their emotional empathy and their empathic traits.
Yeah, because the way I see it is those that are complete and utter narcissists to the point where it's bad for the people around is because their narcissism devalues others that are around them.
That's right.
However, those that have healthy narcissistic traits, let's put it that way, with your language,
Yes.
they don't devalue others around them because, yes, they have narcissistic traits, but they also have empathy that allows them to have this healthy narcissistic trait without devaluing others, because their empathy would stop that devaluing of others from happening in the first place, right?
That's right. Also keep in mind, however, there's this. People who have emotional empathy aren't saints. So a non-narcissist could punch somebody in the face as a narcissist could. Why did the narcissist do it? Well, the narcissist has suffered a threat to control. They've experienced a response by way of heated, ignited fury, and they've used a very rudimentary manipulation to physically assault someone, which puts them on their backside, which gives them control in that moment over the individual that they've decked. Why might a non-narcissist hit somebody? Well, it might be, for instance, that they've been attacked first. So their emotional empathy is reduced as a consequence of being the victim of an assault. Or it might be their emotional empathy has been dialed down because they're under a lot of pressure at work and they've got financial problems and they snap. So it has to be borne in mind that just because somebody has emotional empathy, it's not fixed. It's like a tide, it ebbs and flows. And so that's why you will get some people who do have emotional empathy, but they will act out from time to time. The difference is they don't do it with the regularity or the systemic nature of the narcissist, and it isn't self-serving in the way that it is the narcissist. So similarly, I create a channel that's helped millions of people around the world. Frequently, people go, well, why would you do that, given that you're a narcissistic psychopath? And I said, well, because it suits my purposes to do so. I'm creating a legacy. It's self-serving. I'm doing it for my needs, and you just happen to benefit as well. Why is it that certain narcissists put on brilliant pop concerts? Are they doing it because they truly care? No, they're doing it because it makes them look really good, but their audience also enjoys themselves as well. So the narcissist can do things which are seen as good, but it's just another form of manipulation. So there are individuals, narcissists aren't red of tooth and claw all of the time. We can't be. Otherwise, we'd never get any victims. Everybody would run away from us. So we have to be pleasant and charming and fun, at least initially, to draw you in. And that means apparently being kind, because some of us have cognitive empathy. We understand what the appropriate response is. So that you have that thrown into the mix as well with regard to the way that people behave.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's look at the way Princess Catherine is now behaving now that she's re-emerging herself into public life after completing her chemotherapy treatment. And so we've got articles coming out like this where, she's making a return from her first early years meeting in 9 months to visit
Mhm.
in a church in Scotland. And, she's also going full steam ahead with the Christmas Carol service that she does every single year that's televised. And so here you see, as far as I'm concerned, with Princess Catherine's behaviour, that, yeah, she has the empathy and the kindness within her to be able to start, serving the people again of the
Mhm.
UK in her capacity as the Princess of Wales. I could only imagine, I mean, this is just now pure speculation, HG, but, and I won't wish this on her, I won't wish it on anyone, okay? But in an alternate universe where, heaven forbid, Megsy was diagnosed with cancer and needed to go through chemotherapy treatment, as she emerges, do you think that Megsy would do anything like this to go back to trying to serve the people of whoever she wants to serve in a good and charitable way? Do you think she'd do the same as Princess Catherine in that scenario?
Well, no narcissist serves the people. The narcissist serves themselves. So it's important to understand is that Princess Catherine, when she goes to the early years event, and when she goes to the church in Scotland, and when she organises the carol service, that's driven by her sense of duty, which is underpinned by her emotional empathy. It's good publicity for her as well. She's not blind to the usefulness of the necessity of showing the nation that she's doing stuff. That's part and parcel of the way that it works. But the main driver as to why she does it is because she understands the concept of service, because she has the empathic trait of decency and her moral compass. Now, this one's wife could similarly organise a carol service and go to an early years thing and go to a church in Scotland. But the driver for that is the pursuit of the prime aims, namely, her narcissism subconsciously drives her to do it to assert control over the audience, to draw fuel from them by way of their reaction, and to gain residual benefits such as manage her facade of this supposed kind individual that conducts carol services and goes to see children, i.e., it is the similar thing to what Catherine is doing, but the driver is entirely different. In Catherine's case, it's emotional empathy and her empathic traits of decency and the moral compass, with a dash of publicity. Because remember, there's the narcissistic trait of showcasing that goes with the Princess of Wales as well. She has those narcissistic traits. But with this one's wife, what happens is she engages in doing all of those things because it serves her needs and nobody else matters. It might look like she's serving, it's not. She's serving her own needs. And that's always the case with the narcissist.
Well, guys, on that bombshell, that is the end of this second segment for Royal Clubhouse. If you appreciated what came out of HG's gob, and of course you did, and if you must be living under a rock if you haven't done so already, please do subscribe to his channel, HG Tudor, Knowing the Narcissist Ultra. His link is pinned right at the top of the live chat for those that are watching live, and in the description bar below for those that are watching on the replay. Also, as well, a little bit of a heads up, this Sunday I'll be live again for the Daily Nerd Live, 10 o'clock UK time, 5 o'clock Eastern. I have a massive exclusive from a source close to the she who shall not be named, Markle family. And oh my goodness, they had some things to say about everything that's been coming out this week about her being basically a demon boss from hell. So you definitely do not want to miss that. Also, as well, if you prefer to listen to this audio only, well, now you can. Royal Clubhouse podcast is now live on Spotify. Again, the link for that is pinned right at the top of the live chat for those watching right now. And it's also in the description bar below for those that are watching on the replay. With that being said, those that are watching live, stay exactly where you are. We are not done with you yet. But for those watching on the replay, here are some videos that you may want to clickety-click, clickety-click. right, and that was the second one. And oh my goodness, I mentioned a name. Yeah, I failed my own rule, guys. You caught me in the live chat. I saw Stephen be like, you mentioned her name. I'm like, damn it. Voldemort won again. Never mind. Maybe next week I will be successful. Before we quickly go on to the third segment, Deb Scott's last. Thank you so much for jumping into today's gifting wars, gifting 5 leaderships to some of you lucky lots out there. So everyone say, hey up to our newest leaders, courtesy of Deb Scott's last. Appreciate your face. Thank you so much. But yeah, with that being said, let's crack on with the third segment. We're going to go into the Royal Hero of the Week. Who have I chosen? Who's HG chosen? Guys, you might be surprised on this one, so let's go in 3, 2, 1. Hey up everyone, it's me, Stef, the alternate, your nerdy alternative, and I am here live for Royal Clubhouse with my friend HG Tudor. Thank you so much for coming on this week. I appreciate you, friend. But yeah, we are here for the third segment, which is the Royal Hero of the Week. So live chat, get ready to vote. And HG, take it away. Who is your Royal Hero of the Week?
Oh, thank you, Steph. I decided that I would dip into the annals of history and bring forward what many of you would reference as a girl boss. I thought it was time for a history lesson, and the current crop of royals would fade into obscurity next to this titan from history. Eleanor of Aquitaine lived from circa 1122 to 1204. She was one of the most powerful women of the Middle Ages. She basically, just at the age of 15, had a vast inheritance when her father died on a pilgrimage. And the lands of Aquitaine in France were extensive and wealthy and put her in a very powerful position and made her one of the most eligible women of the time in Europe. She ended up marrying Louis, who was the heir to Louis VI of France, and he later became King Louis VII. So she became Queen of France. She then went on the Second Crusade, whereby she headed out there, getting rid, as pursuant to Louis's instruction, because he was particularly pious, gems and finery, etc., and travelled to the Holy Land. The crusade was a bit of a disaster, and she became cut off from many of the troops, and she, through some ingenuity and resourcefulness, managed to make her way back to France, showing that she was a particularly resourceful young lady. She then ended up divorced from Louis, but married Henry of Anjou, who later became King of England, which made her Queen of England. So she'd been not queen once, but twice, absolutely kicking ass in Europe. And then 2 of her own sons got in a plot against their own father, and she ended up being put in prison. But she saw that out, and she got into her mid-60s, which was considered quite elderly in the 12th century, and she was still involved in the government. And she acted as regent in England. So effectively, she became the ruler when Richard went off to join the Third Crusade. And she was even involved in securing his release. So you have a young lady who was thrust into power and negotiations and the whole world, which was dominated mainly by men. She more than held her own, becoming Queen of France, Queen of England, going on crusades and living to what was a ripe old age. So I think by anybody's standards, that's very much a royal hero.
Well, when you put it like that, bloody hell. It's like I messaged HG before the stream, guys, as I do with all the guests. And I'm like, right, all I need from you guys is your Royal Hero and Royal Zero of the week. Very, very simple and easy. And wait for the Royal Zero, because that's even more interesting, guys. We'll be getting onto that final segment in a moment. When I saw the 2 options, I'm like, wow, I've never heard of these people before. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm really, really excited to hear from HG. I didn't Google them because I didn't want to get spoiled by it, if that makes sense. I wanted to hear from HG, his understanding and his knowledge about these historic figures. And yeah, I'm definitely not disappointed. How about you guys? If you're watching live, the poll is in the chat right now. Who is your Royal Hero of the Week? For those that are watching on the replay, let us know in the comments down below. Who is your Royal Hero of the Week? Now, going on to my Royal Hero of the Week, here we go. It's Piers Morgan. Yeah, I've gone a little bit more basic than HG, a little bit more lowbrow, okay, I'll admit. But I'm just here for the little bit of the petty when it comes to Piers Morgan, because this is actually a really, really good clapback. So, as we all know, Hazza went to New York City this week. The Clinton Global Initiative, as you can see here, calling on tech companies to do more to protect the youths, the young, from the harmful effects of social media, which is absolutely laughable just on the face of it when you know that, yeah, there's the Sussex squad and Hazza and Meghan have done naff all to actually condemn them publicly in the first place. If anything, allegedly, visiting them and rewarding them. So, yeah, he has no place whatsoever, first and foremost, to be discussing the harmful effects of social media when he's doing, as far as I'm concerned, naff all towards those that are bullying, threatening, and doing so much more in his and Meg's name. But Piers Morgan is never one to miss a trick, and I love this tweet. Does he have any advice for how the royal family can be protected from the harmful effects of people being nasty to them? The YouTube human reviewer, in books, Netflix documents, documentaries, podcasts, and TV interviews with Oprah. Yeah, I wonder if Hazza has any advice for the royal family being protected from the harmful effects of those particular options, or any advice for how just basically anyone that criticises Hazza and Megxie can be protected from the Sussex squad. I would love to hear Hazza and Megxie's advice on that. But yeah, I'm here for the little bit of the petty this week, so I chose Piers Morgan for my royal hero of the week, just calling him out. Just very funnily indeed. I saw this and I laughed my backside off. But HG Tudor, what do you think to my pick?
I mean, he's not royal.
He's royal adjacent.
Oh, I didn't realise it was royal adjacent hero.
Oh yeah, you can do royal adjacent as well. Anything to do with, let's say, the royal kind of world, whether it's in it or adjacent to it, then yeah, you can choose. Apologies, I should have been a bit more clear on that. Do you want to choose?
Well, that's quite all right. No, I'm perfectly content with my choice. I think providing a delicious slice of history there is required because, quite simply, I wanted to avoid picking the usual suspects because I'm sick to the back teeth of talking about them, to be quite honest, although I recognise that people are very interested. And I thought it'd be refreshing to go elsewhere and perhaps bring a little bit of enlightenment and education in respect of a bit of different history towards people. So, but Piers Morgan, you've got a good example of a narcissist in action there as well. So you've covered that base.
Yay! I kind of have HG's approval. I'll do with the kind of bit. That'll do for me. But yeah, with that being said, let's close the poll in the live chat. Let's see who is officially the royal hero of the week. Oh, yeah, it was pretty close, actually. This is the closest it's been, yeah. So, HG Tudor, you have won 57% of the vote. Eleanor of Aquitaine is your official royal hero of the week.
Yay,
Piers Morgan.
Go me.
In at 42%. But yes, go HG. Yes, I'm so happy. If anything, do you know what? Yeah, your pick. If I was voting, I have to admit I'd vote for your pick as well.
That's very kind. What do I win?
The prestige of knowing that you beat me.
A warm prurient glow.
There you go.
Receiving the viewers' approval. Well, I'll take that. Thank you very much for voting for me, everybody. Well, the 57% anyway.
57%, hey, you got the majority. That's what matters. Well, kind of mattered for... I'm getting a bit political here. I was going to say Keir Starmer, but shh, I'm gonna hold my horses on that one. But yeah, with that being said, that is your segment for Royal Hero of the Week. If you appreciated what came out of HG Tudor's gob, and of course you did, 57% of you definitely did, then make sure you all go to his channel, HG Tudor, Knowing the Narcissist Ultra. His link is pinned right at the top of the live chat for those that are watching live. Those watching on the replay, it's in the description bar below. go ahead, subscribe to him. He's doing a lot of good content, if I do say so myself. The In Conversation Withs, where he's getting different YouTubers on and having very, very interesting conversations and asking questions that a lot of people are just not asking. Also, as well, If I Ruled the World. I've done both of those and they were so much fun. So do check them out on his channel. Also, as well, if you love Royal Clubhouse and you're thinking, I'd like to listen to it a little bit more, then make sure you head on over to Spotify because, yes, you can only find me now or here on Stef the Alternate channel and also as well on Spotify. Nowhere else. You can now listen to it in audio form. The last Royal Clubhouse is on there. This Royal Clubhouse will be on there shortly. So if you've got Spotify, give me some love over on that platform. Subscribe to the Spotify channel and give it a listen. Also, as well, last little bit of housekeeping before we go for this segment. You do not want to miss this Sunday, the Daily Nerd Live, 10 o'clock UK time, 5 o'clock Eastern, because I've got an absolute exclusive. I've spoken to a source close to Meghan Markle's family, and oh my goodness, you will not believe what came out of their gobs when they were talking about everything that's unraveled this week with Megxie being exposed as a narcissistic demon boss from hell. A lot of insight. You guys do not want to miss it. With that being said, those watching on the live, stay exactly where you are. We are not done with you yet. We've got the final segment to go. But for those watching on the replay, thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate your faces. Here are some videos that you may want to clickety-click, clickety-click. All right, and so that was your Royal Hero of the Week. A little bit of support has come through. Jane, thank you so much for the £2 sugar bucks saying, hey, Steph, met your big brother Andy last week. Yeah, I know. He was in the UK at the same time as I was not. It was bad timing all around, but there was nothing we could do to help that. But next time he comes to UK, and there will be a next time, yeah, you know I'm meeting up with him and I'm going to be showing him around the best places in Yorkshire because I'm going to get his American backside up north. You know that's going to happen. But yeah, a lot of you been messaging me being like, oh, I met him. So I'm so glad you guys enjoyed that. But yeah, let's crack on with the final segment of today, which is the Royal Zero of the Week. And if you guys liked HG Tudor's pick, you're definitely going to love this one. So let's go in 3, 2, 1. Hey up everyone, it's me, Stef, the alternate, your nerdy alternative, and I am here live for Royal Clubhouse with my friend HG Tudor. Thank you so much for coming on this week. I appreciate you, my friend. And we are here for the final segment of Royal Clubhouse, which is the Royal Zero of the Week. So HG, take it away. Who did you pick for your Royal Zero of the Week?
Thank you, Steph. Well, for a Royal Zero, there are some really obvious candidates that are done to death. And I thought, again, it's time that we took a journey into the annals of history and find somebody not royal adjacent, but certainly royal. And when I was thinking about, well, Zero, somebody really who wouldn't really be able to do too much, who really wouldn't be able to contribute a huge amount, and their life would really be a bit of a big fat zero. And that caused me to happen upon Princess Alexandra of Bavaria. She lived from 1826 to 1875. She was the 8th child and 5th daughter of King Ludwig I of Bavaria. And we can be a bit more succinct with this lady because there were 2 fundamental issues that she had. The first was that she had a fixation with cleanliness, meaning that she would only wear white clothes, which must have meant that she was a zero with the laundry star, because they must have been sick and tired of her rejecting any other colour to wear and insisting that they had to get it whiter than white. I don't think that they had Daz back then or Ariel, and so it would have been hellish for them to be changing all of that clothing so that it was always white. So what an absolute zero, making people run around getting your clothes clean, and they're insistent on being white. But it gets even worse because she was convinced that she was made effectively of glass because she'd swallowed a glass brand piano when she was a child. Yeah, that's normal. And that any kind of sudden movement would shatter the instrument inside of her. So she would walk through doorways, sideways, and corridors to avoid breaking. And she had this delusion, which actually is a actual recognized delusion to believe that you're made of glass. But with her really zeroing in on her zero-ness, she decided that it wasn't just being made of glass, but she had a glass piano inside her. So she couldn't play it, and she couldn't do a lot because she thought she was going to break it. So therefore, she really did zero. And that's why she's nominated as my Royal Zero.
Again, as I mentioned in the last segment, when we were speaking beforehand and HG gave me his nominations for Royal Hero and Royal Zero of the Week, I did the same thing with the Royal Zero. I was like, wow, I've never heard of this person before. I'm not going to Google, I'm not going to research. I'm just going to bring up something that'll give a little bit of an overview of who this person is so I can show you on screen. But I want it to be a surprise and hear HG's assessment and knowledge of this historical person. And again, HG, you did not disappoint. So thank you so much for that. If you are watching live, the poll is in the chat right now for you guys to vote your Royal Zero of the Week. For mine, yeah, I'm going to go totally basic and obvious on this one. Apologies, HG, for having to lower the cultural spectrum on this. But yeah, I'm going for Megsy. I'm really going for Megsy on this one. We all know it started off with the Hollywood Reporter expose. And then Megsy responds via her staff to make her out to be the best boss ever. Yeah. Does anyone really believe that? Unless you've been hit over the head. I don't think so. But nope, she was then struck back and be like, hold your horses, you're not the best boss ever. Because then the Daily Beast came up and was like, nah, dude, you're demon boss. And you have had many psycho moments. So the whole defense of Megsy being the best boss ever was quickly shut down by the Daily Beast. And yeah, the Hollywood Reporter, nightmare from hell for Megsy, is doubling down on their initial expose of Megsy, with Mayor Roshan, who's the co-editor-in-chief of the publication, saying that they stand by the story and said, you know, it includes one Sussex source who were saying that the claims were fabricated. But no, Mayor Roshan is like, no, we are standing by this story. We've got decent sources here. We ain't going anywhere. And you know what? I think the proof will be in the pudding when it comes to the Hollywood Reporter, because Megzian has a very much like Sue Happy, right? They will love to sue anyone if they feel that they've got a leg to stand on. I mean, just look at all the cases, right, that Hazza has got amongst the many publications in the UK that's ongoing at the moment. So, you know what? If the Hollywood Reporter is completely wrong and has committed libel, then I challenge Megsy to go and sue them. Sue them. If she doesn't sue them, to me, that definitely says a lot and puts more credence on the Hollywood Reporter's expose and the quality of sources that they had where they were able to build this article in the first place. So with that being said, that is my Royal Zero of the Week. HG, what do you think to my pick?
Well, it's a natural pick. It's an obvious pick, and one can't dispute that she's royal just about these days, and indeed a zero. I think actually, Steph, that you need to take her out of the equation and just basically give her a lifetime Royal Zero award, and therefore she's just always known as a Royal Zero, and that you can choose somebody else in the future.
Do you know what? That's not a bad idea whatsoever. I might actually do that. We shall see. Well, Just stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned. With that being said, let's end the poll in the live chat and let's see who officially is the Royal Zero of the week. That's just loading up right now. Yeah, looking at this, 71% of you voted for Megxie. Yeah, sorry, HG. Looks like I won this round. 71% voted for Megxie to be the Royal Zero of the week. But Princess Alexandra of Bavaria got 28%. So that's not bad going at all. So, yes, officially for this week, your Royal Zero is Meghan Markle. With that being said, guys, if you appreciated what came out of HG's gob, and of course you did, many of you have done, and I'm seeing in the chat you are definitely loving all of this right now, then make sure you go ahead and subscribe to his channel, HG Tudor, Knowing the Narcissist Ultra. His link is in the description bar below for those that are watching on the replay. For those that are watching live, it's pinned right at the top of the live chat. Also, as well, guys, did you know that this stream is now a podcast as well on Spotify? Yes, you can only find me here on this channel, Stef the Alter Nerd, and also now as well on Spotify. Nowhere else. You can listen to the Royal Clubhouse podcast on Spotify. Again, the link is in the description bar below for those watching on the replay. For those on the live, it's pinned right at the top of the live chat. And finally, a very, very important live stream this Sunday, 10 o'clock UK time, 5 o'clock Eastern. The Daily Nerd Live. You do not want to miss it. I have an exclusive. I've got a source close to Meghan Markle's family, and they've got some really interesting insight of everything that's unfolded this week with Megxie being exposed as a narcissistic demon boss from hell. You will not want to miss that. With that being said, for those watching on the replay and live, thank you so much for tuning in. For those live, stay exactly where you are. For those watching on the replay, thanks for tuning in. And here are some videos coming on screen right now that you may want to clickety-click, clickety-click. Okay, you guys, and yeah, that is it for the Royal Clubhouse for this week. I want to thank so much HG for joining me this week, taking the time out to do this. Thank you so much. I hope you've had at least just a little bit of fun and you don't feel like your time has been wasted too much. But yeah, HG, do you have anything else you would like to add to the audience before we go?
Thank you for listening, and thank you for your contributions, and thank you for inviting me on. I've enjoyed sharing the experience of being in the clubhouse, and I look forward to returning at some point in the future.
Yay! I look forward to that as well, HG. Thank you so much. For all those watching on the replay or live, thank you so much for all your support and tuning into this week's Royal Clubhouse. I appreciate all your faces. On your way out, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to join our Alter Nerd tribe, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. Essentially help us get to 1 million so we can also get that go play button right there and hopefully cause a Meghan Markle meltdown on Instagram. But yeah, with that being said, the next Royal Clubhouse will be this time next week, 7 o'clock UK time, 2 o'clock Eastern. You do not want to miss my next guest. I will announce it a little bit closer to the time, but I think it will be one that you will not be disappointed in. That is for sure. With that being said, again, HG, thank you so much for joining in to today's Royal Clubhouse. Appreciate you all. Until the next time, though, laters. Bye.